And, you know, it's funny you mentioned all that reporting. It's dozens of interviews, thousands of documents, months of work, all to say a very obvious thing, which is that there is no LCD factory in Wisconsin. And really, there was never a plan for one. Foxconn, Trump, Wisconsin GOP all struck that deal without a firm plan to actually build a factory. And now, 3 years later, the building that is supposedly the factory has been permitted to be used as storage.
To what degree did the pandemic alter the promise of the factory? I mean, if COVID had never come along, would we be talking about something much different? And if not, what intentions do you think Foxconn originally had for this?
You know, I think if COVID had not come along, what we would have seen is a ribbon cutting ceremony for the president on the campaign trail. I do not think we would have seen an LCD factory. Again, there were never any firm plans filed for such a factory, nor was anything ever built. I think what Foxconn was looking for in 2017 was that Foxconn Chairman Terry Gou was in the middle of a trade war that he called Foxconn's biggest challenge to his shareholders. He got to make this deal with Trump. He got to have a groundbreaking ceremony. And in exchange, he got sort of unfettered access to the Trump White House in the middle of the trade war that obviously affected imports from China, where Foxconn has a sizable manufacturing presence. That seems like the heart of the deal. In the meantime, the people of Wisconsin have been expecting 13,000 jobs. Businesses and suppliers across Wisconsin, across the area, have been trying to do business with Foxconn, only to find that there's nothing there and there's no business to be done. One thing, you know, reporting a story like this, our senior reporter, Josh Jezza, who has been on this case for basically 2 years, not a lot of people wanted to talk, and then suddenly a lot of people wanted to talk because the facade, the runaround, had just gotten to be too much. And that really all kind of broke at once, you know, over the past 4 months.
Neil, you guys have been following this story for a lot longer than 4 months. I've noticed it. But right now, with this coming out when it is, a couple weeks before the election, there's quite a political backdrop. Wisconsin is a battleground state. It has been leaning blue over the past few weeks, but still could go either way. To what degree do the politics of economic development, you think, play into the way this story continues?
I think those politics are front and center. Fundamentally, that factory is a monument to political aspirations. Trump and the Wisconsin GOP promised to bring back manufacturing to southeastern Wisconsin, to that area. They promised 13,000 jobs. They did so with the largest tax subsidy package in American history. The cost of the subsidy, depending on how you count, is somewhere between $200,000 and over $1 million per job. Which is incredible. And that is an attempt to bring back, revitalize manufacturing in that area. Now we've come to the point where it has been clear kind of from the start that manufacturing LCDs in Wisconsin at those labor rates without key suppliers like Corning in the area was just never viable. So I think the way I've been thinking about it, go ahead.
So I wonder if you have found, and I think you have in this piece, real costs to moves like this, because very often we hear, well, you know, it's a tax credit, it's a subsidy. Really, it only costs taxpayers anything if there are jobs created, if there is revenue that comes out of this. But there were issues of eminent domain, houses getting knocked down to make room for facilities that it sounds like Foxconn might not ever get full use of.
Yes, and so people were moved out of their houses. The village of Mount Pleasant declared an area blighted so it could move people out. They tore down the houses. They sold the land to Foxconn. Much of the land isn't being used. It has been leased back to one of the local farmers they bought it from so he could get some use out of it. And then on top of it, you know, Foxconn has employed hundreds of people now in Wisconsin who didn't have anything to do. You know, Josh's reporting revealed that people were coming to work every day, sitting down and watching Netflix all day, watching YouTube all day. One person told Josh that they had watched the entire Game of Thrones run in preparation for the final season during his time at Foxconn. And then when those people had been there long enough to qualify for the tax subsidy payments to Foxconn, they were all laid off at the beginning of the year. And I think that churn in that marketplace is not healthy. It's not good. And it really speaks to how this was a project about optics as opposed to a project about jobs.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.